Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today you're checking out a Stamina Nightblade PvP build. I'm calling this build the Hunter. So if you're looking for a build that's really fun to play in PvP while also being really unique and different at the same time, then this is going to be the build for you. Basically the way it works is we're using roll dodge on a wood elf, but instead of using it as a defensive tool, which it usually is, we're actually using it offensively to proc more damage, more speed, a stun knockdown effect, and a root all at the same time. This combo is ridiculous, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So stick around, we're going to check out the stats, the sets, the skills, champion points, and more coming up next. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into the stats on the build. Usual disclaimer, though I'm not completely min-maxed on this build. You can definitely push out some better stats with things like gold gear, gold glyphs, unlocking your undaunted passives. All of these things will increase your stats on the build. Keep in mind that this is a baseline and then you can do what you want from there. So let me go ahead and activate our potion and rally. We're sitting at 15k max magicka, 20k maximum health. Will jump up to about 23k in PvP. We are sitting at 34k max stamina. Stamina recovery is about 1800. This goes a bit higher with one of our buffs. Our weapon damage with rally is sitting at about 3500. We do have a berserker glyph on the back bar though, so you'll be just over 4k on that. Keep in mind also, this is not a pure weapon damage Nightblade build. We actually have multiple proc sets that we're using, which don't really scale off weapon damage anyways. So just keep that in mind. And then 30% weapon critical. For our resistances here, we've got 17k spell resist, 20k physical resist, that is in medium armor, and then 2.1 crit resistance. That could be higher, but I'm actually running a lot of well-fitted on this build, more than usual. So you are roll dodging quite a lot. You will avoid a lot of damage through roll dodge, so just keep that in mind. You don't need quite as much crit resist as usual on this type of setup. 64 points into stamina here. I am using the Warrior Mundus Stone. I'm a stage 2 vampire on this build, and I like the extra recovery for stage 2, but it's definitely not necessary. You can take that off if you want. You don't need to be a vampire. I'm using the purple tri-stat food here, maximizing all 3 pools, health, stamina, and magicka. Very good on a stamina Nightblade setup. For our potions, you saw it earlier, these are tripots. This gives you the best possible sustain for health, stamina, and magicka. And then for our race, the best in slot race for this particular build, this is a unique build, is going to be Wood Elf, because we are doing so much roll dodging. And that's because you have the new reworked Hunter's Eye passive, which gives you 10% movement speed and 1500 physical and spell penetration for 6 seconds every time you roll dodge. This is a really cool passive. It used to be even stronger, and then Zos knocked it down a little bit, but I still think it's really good. And since we are using roll dodge for an offensive combo on this build, it's actually perfect for what I was trying to do. So Wood Elf's definitely going to be your best bet on this. Other races like Orc, for example, because they have more weapon damage, more stamina, are still going to be really strong for a stamina Nightblade. You also have Nords, which have the extra tankiness and ult generation, so you can go with what you prefer for the race, but I am using Wood Elf. Okay, so I think that covers the basics. Let's go ahead and jump into the sets. Next, we are starting with 5 pieces of Eternal Hunt. This is a pretty standard Nightblade setup, I think. You can see the bonuses here, 1 piece max stamina, then stamina recovery again. And anytime you use roll dodge, you leave behind a rune. Does about 9k poison damage and immobilization for 1.5 seconds. So this is a great set to use on Stamina Nightblade. Most players I see use it kind of defensively, where you can use your rune. Let's say you're running away from a target like this. Roll dodge, get them to step in the rune. Then you can either cloak away, regroup, something like that. So it is a very good defensive set. Now, my thinking behind this is the proc is actually pretty decent. It's not bad as far as damage, 9k poison damage. And I like the fact that it does a root as well. So I'm thinking about, I want to use this more offensively. So if I have a target, I can roll dodge through them, proc that effect, and it does a decent amount of damage, and I like the root as well. So it's a great set overall, good for both defensive and offensive play on the Stamina Nightblade for sure. Now, going along with that, for my second 5-piece set, I started experimenting with this Hide of Morahas, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, set, and I started seeing this a lot during the Dark Brotherhood anniversary event that just happened. I was getting lots of this while I was farming mats, actually, and it's pretty interesting. It's a heavy armor set, first of all, but the bonuses are not bad for a Stamina Nightblade. You can see you get max health, physical resistance, max stamina, and then on the 5-piece here, when you roll dodge, through an enemy you deal physical damage and you knock them down for 3 seconds. So that's basically a knockdown stun anytime you roll dodge. So this is a really interesting mechanic. Not only are we going to be roll dodging and proccing a root, proccing damage, with Eternal Hunt, we can actually proc a stun on top of those 2 effects already. And then also keep in mind that we are a Wood Elf, so we also are proccing speed and we're proccing physical penetration. So I just felt like this would be a pretty cool combo to try out on a Wood Elf Nightblade. And it turns out it's actually really fun to use. So if you're wondering how this works, let me just roll through a couple of targets here. You can see. You can see if you line up your targets, you can do multiple stuns at the same time, which is pretty cool. And then obviously that Eternal Hunt rune is going to proc as well and do additional damage. So yeah, it's just a pretty fun effect. Now with that, our last set that we're going to use in combination with that, I just wanted another strong damage dealing set. So I went ahead and used Celine's from the monster set. And so that's going to give us some more max stamina, which is always good. And then for the 2-piece bonus there, you get about 15k physical damage procced. Now, it can be difficult to land this proc, but the fact that we're doing both a root and a stun on our primary combo is going to mean that it's going to be much easier to land the actual Celine's proc on your target. If they are both rooted and stunned, they're not going anywhere. They're going to pretty much be stationary for that 1.5 seconds, and you'll get the full damage on that proc. So in terms of the traits and the weights here for our build, we want to run as much well-fitted as possible. So I believe I have 5 well-fitted and then 2 impenetrable. This is going to be really helpful, especially in no CP and battlegrounds. You'll be doing a lot of roll dodging, and you don't want to burn all of your stamina while you're doing that. So I would recommend at least 5 pieces of well-fitted. If you get really comfortable in the build, you could even do 6, maybe 7, I don't know. But that's what I would recommend there. Now, our Hide of Morahas set does just come in heavy armor, so that's something you have to keep in mind. The best way I could think of running this was chest and legs. So heavy chest here, impen, heavy legs, also impen. I am using 1 jewelry piece here, so that's my 3rd piece. That does come in healthy, so if you have the extra transmute stones, you could definitely think about changing that to robust or infused or something like that. And then for my other 2 pieces, that's where I am just using the main hand, and I'm using a 2-handed maul for that with the Nirnhone trait. That's going to give me the most weapon damage on my other attacks. The maul does give us an extra bonus to penetration, which is going to be great. That means our Poison Rune, our Celine's, and our Morahas roll, all those will hit for more damage because we have higher physical penetration. For the back bar, I am using a bow. Now, you can choose to run the Morahas bow if you want that extra stun proc on the back bar, go for it. You don't need it, though. I'm just running that on the front bar. So you could run any old bow on the back bar that you want. You definitely want infused, though, with the Berserker enchant giving you that nice bonus weapon damage every 5 seconds. You can also run the Master's Bow here if you want to do that, because we are using poison injection on the build. So up to you what you want to use there. I already mentioned the head and shoulders for Celine's medium. And then the rest of our body pieces are going to be medium Eternal Hunt. We have the medium Eternal Hunt belt, bracers, and feet. Again, all well fitted. And then for your jewelry here, I just have all weapon damage, 2 robust, 1 infused. I just have the 1 infused trait here, but you could obviously run more of those traits if you have, let's say, Undaunted maxed out, and you have more stamina available. You could switch some more of those to infused. And then obviously improve these to purple or gold. That would be ideal. So let's jump over to the skills next. And check out our front bar first. This is our 2-hand bar. Starting off with Reverse Slice. This is just our standard execute skill, deals bonus damage to enemies with less than 50% health. Now, I do prefer this over Killer's Blade. One of the reasons for that is it just scales below 50% health. To get that bonus damage with Killer's Blade, they have to be at 25% health or less, and sometimes your target might be just like right on that line. Maybe they have a little bit of health recovery or a little heal over time, and then all of a sudden they're out of execute range. So not a fan of when that happens. I just prefer the more on-demand damage of Reverse Slice. That's my preference at least, but you can run what you want there. Just make sure you have an execute slotted. Then next up we've got Ambush. This is our gap closer. Does a good amount of physical damage, gives us a nice empower on our next light attack, and that slight snare when you close the gap. So this is a really important part of the combo. You want to basically ambush into a target and then roll dodge. Because remember, to proc that rune from Eternal Hunt, you have to be right on top of the target. So the best way to get right on top of the target as a Nightblade is going to be ambush for sure. Something that I learned while I was playing this build as well is your ambush doesn't put you right smack on top of the target. It puts you like maybe a foot out. So what you'll need to do is ambush, push in just a little bit, and then roll dodge. So if I was going to show you quickly, I would ambush, push in, and then roll dodge there. And you can see I was able to land the rune right on top as well as proc my stun. So that's how I would recommend pulling that off, but that's definitely a needed skill on this build. It just makes the whole combo work, I think. Next up is going to be Shadowy Disguise. This is just our cloak skill. Good for survivability and good for offense as well, because your next direct damage attack is going to be a critical strike. And then you can also pair that with our next ability, which is Surprise Attack. So Surprise Attack is our main spammable, does a good amount of damage, gives us Major Fracture, which helps all our abilities hit harder. Even the procs on our sets will hit harder with that. And you do get a stun when using this from Cloak. So this is really great if you have multiple targets. You can do the roll dodge combo to finish off your first target, go into Cloak, and then come back, stun your next target. So then our last skill is just Rally. We're using this for the big burst heal. Obviously the Major Brutality buff as well, giving us that extra 20% weapon damage, super important. Make sure you let this run as long as possible so you get the big burst heal out of that. Then our ultimate on the front bar is going to be Incap, does a good bit of damage. As I'm sure you know, you get that stun if it's over 120 ultimate, but really not a big deal because we have unlimited access to stuns with our roll dodge. So we're using this more for just the burst. The Major Defile is very nice. And then the 20% extra damage for 6 seconds is huge. Swapping over to our bow. Got Poison Injection as the first ability here. This just does a nice damage over time. Scales up, does extra damage the lower health our target gets. So you definitely want to apply Poison Injection first on your target. That also applies the Berserker Enchant, proccing your weapon damage. Next up, we've got Shadow Image, and I'd say this is kind of a flexible spot for the build. You could run under things here like Shuffle if you wanted, or you could do Mass Hysteria, but I really like Shadow Image just for this particular play style. It's kind of a get in and out quickly type of build, so you'll jump in with Ambush, do your combo, and then Shade out. It's really going to help you survive longer, so I do like this on the back bar. Remember, it does have a range to it, so you'll need to stay in range Basically, if this is yellow, if your buff icon is yellow, then you can jump back to it. So you can execute your combo there, shade back, and then go into cloak if you need to get out of trouble or something like that. Just a really helpful skill to have on the back bar. Next up, Vigor. This is just our heal over time. You want to make sure you pop this anytime you start taking damage. Leeching Strikes is our sustain skill, so this gives us a good bit of stamina back over 20 seconds. Also gives us health every time we light our heavy attack, so this is really helpful as far as keeping your stamina up, keeping your health topped off. Really good skill to have here, definitely recommend that. Last up here, Relentless Focus. This is our minor berserk, so make sure this is always up as part of your buffs. You get 8% extra damage from the skill. You also get a nice bit of stamina recovery, 10% there. And the Spectral Bow proc is awesome, obviously. Just charge that up, 5 light attacks will get that ready for you, and you can add that as part of your initial burst combo or to finish somebody off at a range. Really great skill to have. For the ultimate here, you can do lots of different ultimates. I like Soul Siphon just for the extra heal. If I'm just about dead and I need to buy some extra time, I'll just pop this, get some health. I'll be almost unkillable for about those 4 seconds, and then hopefully I'll have enough stamina or magicka to re-engage the fight somehow. So I like this ultimate, but you could do other things here. You could use the bow ultimate, you could use the Psijic Order ultimate, whatever you want in this spot. So very quickly, let's just review some recommendations for CP. I do play this mostly in Battlegrounds though, so keep that in mind. That's what the build was created for. But if you wanted to take it into a CP campaign, then I would recommend something similar to this. It's just a basic setup. So 37 into Warlord, 27 Sprinter, 15 into Tenacity, 64 Arcanist, 75 Mooncalf, 51 into Tumbling. That's a little bit more than I would normally put, but it's a roll dodge build, so that would help quite a lot. 23 into Blessed, 25 Physical Weapon Expert, 72 Master at Arms, 23 Thaumaturge, 51 Precise Strikes, 27 into Piercing, 49 into Mighty. In the red tree, 66 Ironclad, 58 Resistant, 43 into Hardy and Elemental Defender, 23 Thick-Skinned, and then 37 into Quick Recovery. All right, everybody, that's going to about wrap it up for the Hunter Stamina Nightblade PvP build. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, make sure you crush that like button and leave a comment below. It really helps the video get noticed on YouTube, and that helps me out a lot. So thank you very much for doing that. If you're new here to the channel, definitely think about hitting that subscribe button as well. I do create build videos like this one every week, so there's always something new to watch. And until then, I'll see you guys around in the next video. Thanks.